So on this episode of the Business Spotlight, we're joined with Becky Hopkin, Managing Director of specialist PPC agency Digital Gearbox. They work alongside people like Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Amazon. So Digital Gearbox offer a wide range of PPC services that have the potential to span all manner of search engines and social medias. I hope I've got that introduction right. Becky, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Excellent, thank you. So first of all, listen, thank you very much for taking the time out your busy day, especially as it's summer holidays and things like that with kids at home as well. So it'd be great if you could kick us off with maybe just sharing a little bit about what it is you guys do and what services you offer.
Yeah, I mean, you covered it quite well already, but we frame ourselves as the PPC agency for ambitious brands. So PPC stands for pay per click, and it's often kind of referred to as the dark arts, but we really don't like that term. PPC, like many digital marketing techniques, is fairly straightforward. It's not magic, but it does require time and commitment to get it right, and that's where we come in. So we help people with getting their Google ads set up right in the first place, because that's a lot of where people go wrong. They kind of have Google throw a nice attractive voucher at them and say, hey, come advertise with us, and then they don't really know what they're doing, set it up wrong, and it doesn't work. So we can help from the very start. We can help people get their campaigns set up so they're going to reach the right people, and they're going to measure what they're getting from their campaigns, very importantly. And yeah, then we take over from the optimization point of view. So again, where people go wrong is where they set these things up and leave them, and they don't look at the data, they don't tweak the settings, they don't change the targeting based on the data. And that's the great thing about pay-per-click advertising, is you get so much data about how people find you and what they're responding to within your messages, and you can just make little adjustments which will make them work even more effectively.
Yeah, so a couple of interesting points there. One is that you sort of mentioned the dark art thing, but it's one of those things that I guess if you don't know, you just don't know. And
Yeah.
having an expert guide you and sort of point the efforts in the right direction is going to save a whole load of time and energy trying to find your way in what is a really crowded marketplace these days, isn't it?
Exactly. And I love Google, but I also get very frustrated with Google because their reps often come in with the vouchers and they make suggestions which aren't often right for business owners, unfortunately. At the
Okay.
end of the day, they're a business, they're trying to make money. And quite often they will suggest things that are just making you target too broadly, or they're doing campaigns that are too expensive for what budget you have. And that's again where we come in, is we look at each individual business, we look at what you're trying to achieve, and without Google's money making incentives behind us, we recommend how you can set up your campaigns to meet the objectives you're trying to achieve.
So it's really trying to get sort of targeted on specifics to cut through some of the noise and things.
Exactly,
The
exactly.
other thing you mentioned is about the data, and then
Mhm.
not many people using the data. How important is it to sort of understand what the numbers are telling us or the data's telling us?
It's critical. So you can get very bogged down with what we call vanity
Yeah.
metrics. So things like impressions, which means how many times your ads have been put out there, and even clicks. People get excited by clicks, and yes, okay, people going to your website is exciting, but if they're not doing anything afterwards, then that's just a waste of money. So
Yeah.
that's
I was
where,
having a
especially,
conversation online with one of my fellow coaches about a post that he put out, and he was sort of commenting on how many likes that he's had on a
yeah,
personal post over and I kind of sort of said, well, is that the right metric? Because if
exactly.
it's not the right people, if it's not your target market, then is it really working towards you? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
and you
important to
can,
know what the stats are telling you.
yeah, and you can set up conversion tracking to measure your key objectives. So whether it's getting
Yeah.
people to fill in a form, or whether it's getting people to buy from you on your website, that can all be set up to track and measure accurately. So you can see exactly what ads, what keywords are leading to people doing the action you actually want them to do. And then you can just move your money around to put it towards the things that work.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's shift the conversation to a little bit more around your journey in business, because
Mhm.
working with business owners, whether they're seasoned entrepreneurs or just starting out, typically everybody encounters certain challenges, whether there's a touch of imposter syndrome going on, some knowledge gaps, or areas where a little bit more focus could make a significant difference to the performance of the business. What would you say has been your biggest challenge as running a business, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Oh, there's been lots of challenges along the way. So my journey into business ownership is a little bit different to a lot of people. So I didn't actually set up this business. I worked for the previous business owner and took over ownership coming on for 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So there was definitely imposter syndrome to begin with, that I was stepping into someone else's shoes. I had the whole challenge of kind of realizing what it is to own a business. So I didn't really, having been in the business and working in for the business, I didn't know kind of anything about finance. I didn't know about VAT returns. I didn't know about corporation tax. That was a nice surprise. I didn't know about P&Ls. I didn't know any of that. And it was kind of when I had that handover day, suddenly having all these numbers to look at and seeing money go out that I wasn't really aware was going out was well, I was somewhat aware, but
Yeah.
like just seeing it all in a granular fashion, which actually I didn't see in a granular fashion to begin with. And that was kind of how I overcame the fear, was that I took things like bookkeeping. I initially actually took that back on myself so I could understand the numbers
Okay.
going in and going out.
You kind of force yourself to learn it,
I forced
so you
myself
could
to
understand.
learn it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then at the point I understood what was coming in and out, I then was like, right, I don't need to be doing this.
Yeah. You've got enough
So
information to know what to
yeah,
look for. Get
yeah.
somebody else to do the. Yeah. Okay.
So that was an initial challenge. I think the other one was about 4 months after taking over the business, I became pregnant with my first daughter.
Okay.
So also coming into a business and realizing that I couldn't do everything. I had to hand over some things very quickly, and deal with juggling parenthood with running
Yeah.
a business. I'd say that was a pretty big challenge as well.
And the business becomes one of your children as well, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
part and parcel.
it was like dual
Hmm.
babies at the same time. And yeah, I that came with we were very small back then. We were 3 people, so myself and 2 others. And just unfortunate timing that the 2 people that I had were both leaving just as I got pregnant as well. So
Right.
I had to find someone who I could build a very trusted relationship very
Yeah.
quickly, that I knew was capable of looking after things whilst I was going to be in and out of the business for a couple of months. So yeah, that was an interesting time. And yeah, I think just making sure I was happy in the recruitment process with the person I was bringing on board was the key to overcoming that challenge, and having someone who understood the situation and was
Yeah.
willing to walk into that, um, and that had all the knowledge to do the things I needed them to do
So
was.
if you had the opportunity to go back and start again, wind back the
Mhm.
clock, would you do anything differently? And if you would, what would you do differently?
I'm not sure I would do anything differently, really, because obviously I would still have my daughter, and there's
Yeah.
never a good time to have a baby. I've learned
Yeah.
that. I would I would still take some of the I'd still take in the bookkeeping to understand that. I think the only thing I would change is leaning on my network of people that I had earlier. Because again, having taken over the business from someone else, there was suppliers in place that I just kept on for a while because that was what we had in place.
Yeah.
But actually, I'd been doing a lot of networking anyway prior to that, and I had my own contacts. And it was only probably a year after running the business, it suddenly twigged that, hey, I don't need to work with these people I've inherited.
Yeah.
I've got other contacts that I've got a rapport with that I trust more. And just because it's a change doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. So I would have outsourced to different people much sooner.
There's some really good lessons in there, isn't there, around one, going into business as an experienced person in an industry, going into business is its own thing. It's kind of
Yeah,
like, learn the part of being in business is part of being a business owner, and knowing
yeah,
the industry is part of knowing the job.
yeah, yeah,
But then, learning enough about a certain facet of the business to get enough information, and then quickly realizing, right, I now know enough.
yeah,
I don't need to do the work, let somebody
yeah,
else to do it, but I need to know enough to make sure I've got the right person doing the right job. Really important
absolutely.
lesson there. And then I think the other thing is recognizing, having a network of supportive people around you and leaning on that network, because generally people do want to help and do want to support. It's kind of being
Mhm.
open to saying, I need that support system around me to be able to allow me to thrive in the role that I'm doing, by getting the right people around me to support that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having flipped into the ownership role, networking became a whole different thing for me. It was kind of, I'd previously been going out hunting for customers
Customers,
essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas suddenly going from I'm just looking to meet people who could be useful to me
yeah.
or the people I know, it became much more fun and
It's much
much,
more about relationship building then, isn't it? It's
yeah,
about
yeah,
longer term relationship as opposed
yeah,
to, say, a sales funnel.
yeah. And like I just, it became more fun and it became more useful as well because there was not only people that could help me in other areas, but I knew people that needed other people and I could just connect them as well. And that's always a nice thing, connecting other
Yeah, very
people that
good.
can help each other.
Let's talk about time now, because clearly, very busy person, lots going on with a young family as well. So,
Mhm.
everybody has got the same number of hours in the day. So, whether you're a Jeff Bezos, or whether you're, whatever, everybody's got the same. How do you manage your time as a business owner and as a family person? How do you get that balance right?
It's one I don't think you can ever get completely right.
Okay.
But I've got two daughters now, I'm much better at balancing my time, and part of that has come from building up my team. So I am not just me and one other person now. I am me plus five other people, soon to be six other people, and I have trained them up to fulfill different functions in the business, which if I'm not there, they can step in and do those bits. So they are very trusted. I was very fortunate with my second pregnancy 2 years ago that I was able to take a good 3 months out, which I didn't get with my first daughter. And the
Yeah.
business continued to grow, continued to function without me. So even now, I'm still not doing the traditional 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Get to now enjoy 2 days off with my little girl, and the business is fine without me. And I've learned to not feel guilty about that because the business is still thriving. The My daughter's getting more time from me, and the guilt is just, but from both sides, is now dispersed because I feel like I'm giving both enough attention that it needs
It's
to.
funny, isn't it? You saw the emotions you go through when you're with your family. You're
Mm.
thinking, "Oh, I should be doing that in the business." When you're with the
Yeah,
business, you think, "Oh, I should be with." It's a real pull on emotions.
it is a pull on emotions, but I think as long as you see both doing well and you
Yeah,
have the right people around you helping, again going back to that trusted network and your team, then you can do both. And it's about not trying to just, I think first time around I was guilty of just feeling like I had to do 5 days a week and that
okay,
9 to 5, whereas you don't have to do that. And I think actually COVID, for all its fun, it taught everyone you don't need to work traditional
yeah,
hours. You don't need to do a full week to get things done, as long as you are prioritizing the most important game-changing things in your business and doing them. It doesn't matter about just ticking off hours, because otherwise you can just fill time on things that you don't need to do, that non-important, non-critical stuff.
yeah. But it sounds like you're getting the balance right in terms of getting the right people around you, bringing on the team, but also letting go and allowing the
Mhm.
team to sort of, because having the right team around is going to be crucial for growth, and a team can take the business further than potentially you could ever take it on your own.
Absolutely.
Interested to know how you approach that sort of team building and maintaining a strong team in your business. How do you go about that?
Um, it's quite a timely question because we're currently going through recruitment again, and we've always historically kind of brought on young, inexperienced people and trained them up.
Yeah.
And I've come to see that a part of that is with younger people, they do tend to move on after a couple of years. So
Okay.
we do have a little bit of churn in terms of team in the business, but actually what we found is having the right processes in place that people can just come in, follow, they can get going very quickly. That keeps the business flowing and going no matter what the team actually looks like. Whereas kind of my senior team, they've been with me more than 5 years, and they're the ones that can step in and when I'm not here and keep things going. And yeah, I think making sure that they are fulfilled in their roles, they're being challenged, and they're also being rewarded on the company growth is an important part of keeping that senior team happy. And for the younger people that are coming in, it's offering them an opportunity to get skilled up in a growing area, which is appealing to them, and that they can move on to new jobs. They can stay with us, and there's opportunities, but it being okay whichever route they choose to go down, and us not getting upset if they do choose to go down that route, because at the end of the day, I know it's a job for them, and I'm quite happy sometimes seeing the roles that they go into and knowing that we've been part of their journey.
Yeah,
And
sometimes
also,
it's a great thing, isn't it? Because you're helping grow somebody to move on to something better. Yeah.
And also it's nice to then give newer people opportunities and see them flourish as well. So
I think you've hit on a really excuse me, you've hit on a really important point that a lot of business owners tend to struggle with, is around the systemization of their business, getting the knowledge out of their own heads, and then putting it into a process or systems that people can follow. Because, let's face it, systems can stay in a business forever. You can refine them, tweak them, improve them as you go along. People will come and go for the right reasons, sometimes the wrong reasons, but your systems are there to sort of fall back on.
Yes.
Really powerful. Okay. In terms of where, you've got a growing business, you sort of alluded to earlier, you're 5 going on to 6, so you're clearly still in that growth stage. Where do you see the future of the business? What are you looking to achieve over the next sort of 5 years? What's your vision?
I'll be honest with you, I always struggle with the 5-year plans.
Okay.
But that's because I think you have it drilled in you that growth means a bigger team, bigger offices, and shinier plants around you. Whereas for me, I think business growth for me, it's more about probably the profits growing. So not just the turnover, it's the profits with it. And it's us working with more businesses that are kind of the perfect fit for us. So businesses that are investing heavily in pay-per-click, they need a specialist team. They're doing it across all the channels. So it's not necessarily about more clients for us. It's, I guess, better clients and more ambitious clients, going back to our tagline being the PPC agency for ambitious brands.
It's a good point, actually, because like you say, you do think of growth as in growth getting bigger, don't you? As actually growth sometimes can just be getting stronger.
Yes, exactly. And going back to those processes that we're talking about, for me, our focus at the moment is strengthening those processes, making the business, making it scalable if we do want to have more people, or if we do want more offices. I mean, we're very interested in the US market at the moment and the opportunities there. But for us to do that, we need to have our processes absolutely nailed on, which we have. We're halfway there. We're currently going crazy writing processes for pretty much everything we do. And I do think that will unlock a lot of options for us. But yeah, in terms of exactly how that looks, I'm terrible to say exactly how it looks, but profit growth and happiness. That's all I want.
I really like that, a lesson of, growth doesn't always mean better. It's like a bigger, sometimes it can mean better.
Yeah.
Really cool. So what keeps you motivated then? How do you keep that motivation and drive to keep pushing, your entrepreneurial journey?
I think obviously my family motivate me. Having children, you want to do well for them, but also, I mean, I still love what I do. I love that it changes. I love seeing how we help other businesses. For me, that hearing the stories of how we've helped other businesses grow as well as our own business is just very rewarding for me. So those kind of challenges, and again, going back to the dark arts, I think there are so many agencies out there who are doing a bad job and almost tarnishing what can be done with what we do. That one of my favorite things is coming into accounts that have been run badly for
Right.
a period, and turning them around and showing what you actually can do with the tools if it's managed properly.
Yeah, I can imagine that's really rewarding to see that development.
Yeah.
And what about some advice from your experience? You've gone through periods of growth, periods of challenge, and all that sort of stuff. Clearly, very driven, very motivated. What's one piece of advice you'd give to fellow business owners out there?
Build that network of people you can talk to. You're not alone. So yeah, running a business can be lonely, but there are plenty of other people going through it. And I'd say don't exclude your competition either. Like,
Okay.
often they're some of the best people to talk to, other people that do exactly what you do.
Yeah.
I think I'm a firm believer that there's plenty of business out there for everyone, and there's the right fit for every business and client. And the more you can share with others, the world will be a better place.
Absolutely. Agree with that. I think the business can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be, is kind of what I've taken
Yeah,
from that. Yeah.
yeah.
That's been really, really enjoyable to hear about your journey and some of the lessons that you've learned and shared with us today. Before we wrap it up, could you let us know, let our listeners know where they can go to find more about you, more about the business, and how maybe they can get in touch?
Yeah, so there's our website, digitalgearbox.co.uk, and we're on various social channels as well as Digital Gearbox. Probably also best to connect with me on LinkedIn, so just search for Becky Hopkin.
Sounds good. Becky, thank you very much again for your time.
You're very welcome.